Happy Friday, Razorback fans. You're one day away from Arkansas at Auburn in Auburn, Alabama, Jordan-Hare Stadium. I think it's Jordan, right? Is it? I hear some people say Jordan. I hear some people say Jordan. What do you think, Alex?
As a Midwesterner, I'm kind of out on the accents there. I'm not quite sure. It sounds like people say Jordan, but also it sounds like people add an H to what sometimes. So you never really know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jordan, but the people listening to this will go ahead and put in the comments what it is. But if you spell out Jordan, because it's spelled Jordan, Jor. Okay, we're getting off track. You're listening to the Gridiron Hogs podcast. I'm Mason Choate. That's Alex Trader. We're from HawgBeat.com, HawgBeat.com, the Rivals website covering the Arkansas Razorbacks, and this is our football podcast. All right, we're back with a BetSaracen episode. Missed it the BYU week because they didn't drop player props. That was just like a big old thing that happened. Miscommunication between a lot of people. So we didn't do an episode. We did put out a video on Twitter, but we're doing another BetSaracen episode talking all the lines, player props over on BetSaracen, which is the mobile sports gambling app for the Saracen Casino Resort. We have a deal with them where every week we're going to do a Friday episode breaking down those lines, giving a couple of our picks, and then also over at HawgBeat.com, we're going to have a story for you breaking down all those lines, telling you what you can bet, what the odds are, and then we'll give our HawgBeat picks as well. All right, Alex, let's start with this, just an overall of the game, not really picks. We talked to our buddy from auburnsports.com on Wednesday, Brian Matthews, and he really just was like, yeah, Auburn's not good. Their head coach is like, it's just a matter of time until Brian Harsin gets fired, and Arkansas should win this game. And that's how I'm feeling right now. You look at the numbers, Arkansas is just better. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling the same way, but I also felt that way last year. I believe on the HawgBeat Hour, the podcast we did before this, that I picked Arkansas to win by 21 points. I That didn't happen. Obviously, if you watched the game last year, Auburn somehow came up from the dead and looked like a much better team against the Razorbacks. I don't expect that to happen this year. I think Arkansas, from wire to wire, is the better team, despite everything going on in the secondary, despite offensive struggles at points throughout the year in terms of passing the ball. I just think Arkansas is a better team this year, and I think they're a more motivated team. A lot of times, the hungry dog runs faster, and by all accounts, Auburn should be the hungrier dog. They're on pace to not make a bowl game. They're really struggling throughout the season. The problem is, I don't think many of them care outside of Brian Harsin. It's a foregone conclusion at this point. He'll be out of a job at the latest come the start of the off season. So you've got that the players are all starting to realize. All of them, or you're seeing a lot of guys transfer out. There's just not that same hunger from Auburn as an Arkansas team that's trying to replicate the success they saw last year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Auburn, and it seems like every day there's another player, entering the transfer portal. And that's a clear sign of, hey, this is a culture that's not really working out. This is a team that's kind of in shambles. Now, you know that they're going to come out and they're going to want to win the game. That's just how football works. They've still got talented players. It's Auburn football. You know that they're going to be able to stack up against Arkansas, but I just think Arkansas is the better team, and that's why they're favored in this game. So you look at it on BetSaracen, Arkansas is minus 160 money line, Auburn plus 140. I think that's about right. And then you look at the spread, Arkansas is a 3.5 point favorite. Um, we'll go ahead and get into one of our picks, and that is Arkansas minus 3.5. This is the one that I like it. The entire HawgBeat staff is going to take Arkansas to win this game. I think most people will take Arkansas to win this game. I put out a story every single week, and it's comparing the teams, their star comparison, Pro Football Focus grades, and season stats. If you look at the season stat comparison on this story, go check it out, HawgBeat.com. The only thing that's premium on that story are the Pro Football Focus grades, and they're at the bottom, so you can see everything else. Arkansas is averaging more than 10 points per game than Auburn is. They're averaging over 100 yards more per game than Auburn is, total yards. They're converting on 15% more of their third downs. They're allowing less sacks, and they have 7 less turnovers than Auburn has. Auburn has 16 turnovers on the season. Every offensive category, Arkansas is better than Auburn. That's why I like Arkansas minus 3.5. If you look at it, the only game that Auburn has won in the SEC was against Missouri, and that was a 17-14 win. They should have lost that game. Missouri should have scored a touchdown there at the end, but they didn't. They fumbled it into the end zone, and that was the ball game. But if Missouri scores that, then Auburn loses by at least 4 points. Here's the thing. Every loss that Auburn has in the SEC, or total, every loss Auburn has this season, they've lost by at least 4 points. They lost to LSU by exactly 4 points. Arkansas should be able to run all over the Auburn defense that is giving up 204.4 rushing yards per game. That's good for 119th in the country. Arkansas, a top 10 rushing offense going up against a bottom tier rushing defense. I mean, Alex, do you have any pushback on this? Arkansas minus 3.5?
No, I really don't. And last year, like I said, I predicted Arkansas to win this game big. It didn't happen. This year, I think they are going to win this game big. I'm in that same kind of train of thought. Auburn has not been they weren't a very good football team last year. They came in, gave Arkansas their best shot. I don't know that they have that same fight in them this year, even coming out of a bye week. If you're looking at it, there's really no reason Arkansas shouldn't run away with this game if they want to accomplish, what many thought the preseason expectations were of matching last year. You've still got Ole Miss, you've still got LSU, you've still got Missouri, and you've still got Liberty. This is a game you have to go out and win because LSU has looked like a pretty good team since that loss to Florida State, as well as Ole Miss, not quite on that same level as we saw last week, but they are a one-loss team in the SEC West. Arkansas needs to come out and put out a message. I'm not giving this out, but what BetSaracen does that is pretty cool is they offer alternate lines for a lot of things. And they do have Arkansas on an alternate line, still within one score. So you're still within that football number of 7. It's Arkansas minus 5.5, and you're at plus money for that. It's plus 115. So kind of, if you think Arkansas is going to run away with this one, you do have that option. I would tend to be in that camp that Arkansas is going to run away with this one. It's just these are two teams headed in different directions, and until Auburn gets a new coach in, I really can't see that changing much.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those alternate lines. So you can get them at minus 5.5 or plus 115. If you take them at that 3.5, it's minus 105. But if you want to play it safe, buy the extra point. You can get Arkansas minus 2.5 at minus 135. If you think maybe it's a field goal game, you still get Arkansas minus 2.5 there. They cover. So you can buy those. You can even get Arkansas up to minus 1.5. So good stuff going on over there on the BetSaracen app, which you can download on Apple and Google Play as well. So a lot of different player props for this one. Now, on our story over at HawgBeat.com, we only do Arkansas players. So, but before we get to those, want to talk about the over and under. So the line is set at 61.5. I think that's attainable, especially with how bad that both of these defenses are. You look at it, Auburn's giving up 28.29 points per game, so 28 points per game. Arkansas giving up almost 33 points per game. So I don't see Arkansas's defense really, like holding Auburn's offense down with even as bad as it's been at times. I mean, they're averaging just over 20 points per game, but Auburn's defense, I don't know what they can do to stop Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas's offense is good, and Auburn's defense hasn't really stopped anybody aside from Missouri,
Yeah, Arkansas's, they've been really kind of weird this year. The offense really showed what it's able to do last week, but you haven't seen that consistently. I think having a string of a team like BYU, who is a big confidence boost, even though they didn't live up to the expectations, the preseason expectations, some had of them, competing for a playoff spot, trying to be this year's Cincinnati. They're still a good, good team that falls outside of the traditional Power Five. And Arkansas thoroughly, manhandled them. They went out there, dominated on offense. The problem with Arkansas really has been the defense. So I do think that the totals are. I'm going to stay away from totals on this one, but I think if you had to pick a side, picking against defense in this game would probably be your best bet.
Yeah, I agree there. All right, let's move on to player props. So there's a lot of player props that you can get over there on BetSaracen. Just click on the game, and then you can get all of those player props over there. Like I said, not really going to get into the Auburn ones, especially because we're not Auburn experts. So, you look at it, our picks, we'll go ahead and start with our picks. Rocket Sanders anytime touchdown is plus 150. And we were texting before this. That might be a typo because his rushing touchdown is minus 230. So I don't know why you would bet his rushing touchdown if you can get his anytime touchdown for plus money, because anytime touchdown includes basically he just has to be in the end zone. And so, here's the thing with Rocket Sanders. He has 7 rushing touchdowns on the year, 1 receiving touchdown. He's scored in each of the last 3 games, and he's reached the end zone in 5 of the 7 games. Those 2 games he did not reach the end zone were A&M, where that was his worst game of the season. He didn't have 100 yards rushing. He didn't have a touchdown. We know how that game went for Arkansas. They shouldn't have lost that game. And then the Cincinnati game to open the season. Those are the 2 games he didn't score in. But Sam Pittman confirmed this week once again that if Rocket is fresh and he's good to go, it's his ball. As long as he's not tired, they're going to give the ball to Rocket Sanders. He's going to – I talked about the Auburn rushing defense. It's not good. Rocket Sanders, if you're going to pick any Arkansas player to have an anytime touchdown, I think he's your safest bet, right?
Yeah, he's got to be. And, interestingly enough, KJ Jefferson's minus 110. So that the BetSaracen believes that KJ Jefferson is more likely to get into the end zone than Rocket Sanders. I just, with the way Rocket's utilized in this offense, I just think that's hard to believe. It would make sense if they'd, kind of move to a strategy where Dom Johnson is your goal line back, and then you're kind of running the read option between him and KJ. But Rocket has had the opportunities to score throughout the season. I'd be really surprised, honestly, if he doesn't get into the end zone, especially against an Auburn rushing defense that's quite frankly been terrible this season. You heard it from Brian the other day. They're not very good, and that translates over to the goal line. It seems like the first thing I saw when I looked at these player props was like, ooh, Rocket Sanders plus 150 to score, sign me up. So that would be the main takeaway that I got. And then as you look through, there are some more pretty interesting props that I know you're going to get into. I keep saying I really can't see a world where Arkansas wins this game and Rocket doesn't score a touchdown, doesn't contribute in at least some way, whether it be through the air or on the ground.
Yeah, it's interesting that some of this is kind of just confusing. I mentioned that Rocket was minus 230 for a rushing touchdown. You mentioned KJ's anytime touchdown was minus 110. Well, his over half a rushing touchdown is plus 100. So if you're taking it, so if he's minus, that's basically
Philly special.
Do what? Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Riles is drawing up the Philly special.
KJ Jefferson is not going to catch a touchdown, but the thing is, he might rush for a touchdown. That's something that Arkansas likes to go to on the goal line is your big beefy quarterback. So, that's interesting. But you also have a bunch of receiving props. Jaden Hazelwood, Matt Lainers, Rocket Sanders. Those are your receivers that you got props for. You got longest reception, touchdown, and receiving yards over and under. So let's talk about the last pick that we have. And this is, I think this might be the one I feel the most confident about, Alex. I like Rocket Sanders over 104.5 rushing yards. Now, here's the reasoning. Auburn's rushing defense, as I mentioned, 119th in the country, giving up 204.4 rushing yards per game. Arkansas's rushing offense, 240 yards per game. That's good for 9th in the country. You look at the 4 games Arkansas has won this season. Rocket Sanders did have over 104.5 rushing yards. He's actually averaging almost 154 rushing yards per game across Arkansas's 4 wins this season. He's been incredible on the ground in Arkansas's wins. You look at it, Cincinnati, 117, South Carolina, 156, Missouri State, 167, BYU, 175. Seems like there's a common factor there of when Arkansas wins a game, Rocket Sanders does well. Don't you think?
Yeah, they need him to do well. You have that 4-headed monster at running back, but you also need your star guy to go out there and show what he's able to do. There's a reason he's picked up the majority of the carries this season. And he's great, blocking on third down. He's in there. There's a reason he gets those snaps. He's able to receive out of the backfield. That they toyed with him at receiver at some point. And then also you've got him where he can run downfield. He's fast. He's able to run downfield. He's not scared of contact. Those extra yards add up, especially when you've got a rushing total that is, I believe, the highest of the season so far for him. It comes down to yards per carry, and when he's getting those extra yards and able to fight for those extra yards, I think you're going to see it pay off in the end.
All right, last thing here. You had your bonus pick.
I do, and I just saw another one,
Okay.
or another two actually. Arkansas so far this season has allowed a rushing touchdown in every game. Have allowed multiple in all but two of those games. Both Auburn's running back Tank Bigsby is plus 110 to score a rushing touchdown in this game. And then you also have Robbie Ashford plus 140. I know Alabama, Jaden Milroe kind of dominated Arkansas running the ball towards the end of that game. So that's a quarterback, similar, dual threat capabilities where the threat is more on the running side than the passing. You're getting him at big plus money to score a rushing touchdown. I could easily see a situation where you get down to the goal line, there's a read option play, and Robbie Ashford sneaks it in. So honestly, both of Auburn's, Tank Bigsby and Robert Ashford, both the rushing touchdown props that are up right now seem like they make a lot of sense to me. I don't see Arkansas keeping Auburn out of the end zone. And as bad as the secondary's been, I do think that one of those may come on the ground. So I did just see those. You get a live thought process or live look at my thought process if you're listening to this podcast. And then the original bonus pick I had, listen, Arkansas's offense or rushing game more specifically has been an unstoppable force this season. And on the other side of things, you're looking at a really, really opposite story. Auburn's passing defense or passing offense has been horrible this season. Arkansas's passing defense has been terrible. So you're looking at two teams once again going in the opposite direction. You've got the very movable object against the easily stoppable force. Neither team has anything going for them. It is somewhat of a crapshoot, but Arkansas is allowing 315 and a half yards per game passing through 7 games. That's a trend that, as much as a bye week's supposed to help and you've got a couple guys coming back, you don't necessarily buck that in one game. Arkansas 2 weeks ago gave up 350 yards passing. This week, Robbie Ashford's passing total is set at 180. Let me get the exact number. It's 189 and a half yards. So even if Arkansas gets out there and fixes a bunch in their secondary, you've got a team that I expect to be down for most of this game. And a secondary that I don't think is going to be able to shave over 150 yards off the total just through one game. The only snag with that, Robbie Ashford, like I said, has been horrible. Hasn't really, shown that he's able to do that. But I think if he can hit open receivers, which most SEC quarterbacks should be able to do, then this should be a relatively, reachable and achievable total for him to hit.
The issue is Auburn doesn't really have very good receivers. That's something that Brian told us on Wednesday was these receivers are not good. They haven't been good all year. And so it's tough for Robbie Ashford, but as you mentioned, the Arkansas passing defense, it's been bad. The only thing is they got some guys back this week. You get Kari Johnson back, Jaden Johnson back, Miles Slusher back. So maybe that helps, but even with those guys in the game this season, the passing defense has been bad.
And Missouri State threw for 357 yards on this on this Arkansas secondary. I think that Robbie Ashford should have a similar talent level to that quarterback. And also adding those guys back, it is going to help you in the long run. Certainly, you may see a couple breakdowns early in the game. 189 yards is not a high total for passing, especially in college. So there is the opportunity there that even just a couple big chunk plays get him there, and you're looking at a winner, even though Arkansas dominates this game from end to end.
All right. Well, go get the BetSaracen app and place your bets before tomorrow's game, which is an 11 a.m. kickoff. And if you're going to the game in Auburn, Alabama, reminder, you can only place your bets on BetSaracen if you're in the state of Arkansas. So you got to do that. Also, you got to be 21 to do it. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Before we get out of here, I want to remind you about one of our sponsors as well. That is myperfectfranchise.net. Andy Luedecke, doing a lot of great stuff, helping people to diversify their portfolio. He's a longtime Rivals member and franchise veteran, owns multiple franchises and businesses, and he'll use that expertise and knowledge to help you do the same through a free consultation process. Call him and put your life and career in your own hands because it's 100% free and you have nothing to lose. 404-973-9901. That's the number for Andy, or visit myperfectfranchise.net. All right, Alex, appreciate your time, and thank you everybody for listening to the Gridiron Hogs podcast.